Okay, so the time for today, which is the 29th of January, 1 month into 2026. Kind of crazy. Um, but the time is 1:34, 1:31, 1:37. There we go. And we're continuing. So we just started this new chapter. And what did we learn last chapter? Well, we learned about the Grand Slam offer. That was pretty interesting. So without any further ado, pen in mouth, let's keep it going. Pricing. Finding the right market, a starving crowd. The seed that fell on good soil represents those who truly hear and understand God's word and produce. A harvest of 30, 60, or even 100 times as much as had been planted. A marketing professor asked his students, if you were going to open a hot dog stand and you could only have one advantage over your competitors, which would it be? Location, quality, low prices, or best taste? Well, I'm gonna give my own opinion here. Location, obviously. The students kept going until they had ran out of answers. They looked at each other, waiting for the professor to speak. The room finally fell quiet. The professor smiled and replied, a starving crowd. You could have the worst hot dogs, terrible prices, and be in a terrible location. But if you're the only hot dog stand in town and the local college football game breaks out, you're going to sell out. That's the value of a starving crowd. At the end of the day, there is a ton of demand for a solution. You can be mediocre at business, have a terrible offer, and have no ability to persuade people. And you can still make money. An example of this was the toilet paper shortage at the beginning of COVID. There was no offer. The price was atrocious, and there was no compelling sales pitch. But because the crowd was so big and so starving, rolls of toilet paper were going for $100 or more. That's the value of a starving crowd. Selling newspapers. A good friend of mine, Lloyd, owned a software business that served newspapers for almost a decade. They set up digital ad service on newspaper websites with a few clicks and instantly helped them sell a whole new ad product. He only charged them a percentage of the revenue, he added. So if they made nothing, neither did he. It was pure gain for the papers and a great offer. But despite having a great offer and neutral sales ability, his business began to decline because being a high achieving entrepreneur, he tried all the different angles to solve the problem, but nothing worked. He couldn't figure out what the issue was. It was hard for me to see him struggle with this because I think Lloyd is much smarter than I am, and the answer seemed obvious to me. But watching him go through this have been a lesson I have taken with me for life, because I revealed it. Before I revealed it, what do you think the problem was? Product, offer, marketing, and sales? His team? My question to this is, he's putting it in the freaking newspaper. The newspaper nobody gives a crap about anymore. Let's break it down. It wasn't the product that was great. It wasn't his offer. He had a zero risk rev share model. It wasn't the sales skill. He was a natural salesman. So then what's the problem? He was selling to newspapers. His marketing was shrinking by 25% every year. He had looked at all the angles except for the most obvious one. Finally, after years of fighting an uphill battle in marketing, he realized his market was the source of his problem and decided to downsize his company. Don't worry, this story has a second half. To illustrate the power of a market, as soon as COVID hit, Lloyd pivoted. He started an automated mask manufacturing company with new technology. He brought at a cost per mask below what people could buy them from China. Within 5 months, he was doing millions per month. Same entrepreneurs, different market. He applied his same skill set to a business he had zero experience in and was able to win. That's the power of picking the right market. I give you that story as a cautionary tale. Your market matters. Lloyd is a very smart human. He is obviously very capable, but we can all be blinded as entrepreneurs because we don't like to give up. We are so accustomed to solving impossible problems that we will keep ramming our heads into the wall. We hate quitting, but the reality is that everyone is affected by their markets. There is a market. There is a market in desperate needs of your abilities. You need to find it, and when you do, you will capitalize. All while wondering what took you so long. Do not be romantic about your audience. Serve the people who can pay you. What's your worth? And remember that picking a market matters. Like anything, is always our choice, so choose wisely. In order to sell anything, you need demand. We are not trying to create demand. We are trying to channel it. That is a very important distinction. If you do not have a market for your offer, nothing that follows will work. This entire book sits atop the assumption that you have at least a normal market, which I define as market that is growing and the same rate as the marketplace, and that has a common unmet needs that falls into one of three categories: improve health, increase wealth, or improve relationships. For example, Lloyd from the above newspaper story could have gone through this entire book and nothing in here would have worked for him. Why? Because he would have been targeting newspapers, a dying market. That being said, having a great market is an advantage, but you can be in a normal market that's growing at an average rate and still make crazy money. Every market I have been in has been a normal market. You just don't actually want to be selling ice cream to Eskimos. Here are the basic tenets for what I look for in markets. Let's run through them before we return to the offer. When picking markets, I look for 4 indicators. 1, pain. 2, purchasing power. He drew that G weird. Purchasing power. Easy to target and growing. The massive pain. They must not want but desperately need what I am offering. Pain can be anything that frustrates people about their lives. Being broke is painful. A bad marriage is painful. Waiting in line at the grocery store is painful. Back pain, ugly smile, painful. Overweight, painful. Humans suffer a lot. So for us entrepreneurs, endless opportunity abounds. The degree of the pain will be proportional to the price you will be able to charge. When they hear the solution to their pain, and inversely what their life would look like without the pain, they should be drawn to your solution. I have a saying I use to train salespeople. The pain is the pitch. If you cannot articulate the pain a prospect is feeling accurate. If you cannot articulate the pain the prospect is feeling accurately, they will almost always, or if you can articulate the pain, not if you can, they will almost always buy what you are offering. A prospect must have a painful problem for us to solve and charge money for the solution. Pro tip: the pain or the point of good writing is for the reader to understand. The point of good persuasion is for the prospect to feel understood. Number 2, a friend of mine had a very good system for helping people improve their resumes to get more job interviews. He was great at it, but try as he did, he just could not get people to pay for his service. Why? Because they were all unemployed. This again may seem obvious, but he thought these people are easy to target. They're in massive pain. There are plenty of them, and it's constantly adding new people. This is a great market. He just forgot a crucial point. Your audience needs to be able to afford your services. You're charging them for. Make sure your targets have money or access to the amount of money needed to buy your services. Buy your services at the price you require to make it worth your time. What are we at for time? We got a couple minutes. 3, easy to target. Let's say you have a perfect market, but no way of finding the people who comprise it. Well, making a grand slam offer will be difficult. I make my life easier by looking for easy to target markets. Example of this are avatars that have association they belong to, mailing lists, social media groups, channels they all watch, etc. If our potential client are all gathered together somewhere, then we can market to them. If searching them out, however, is like finding needles in a haystack, then it can be very difficult to get your offer in front of potentially interested eyes. This point is tactical. It is reality, not theoretical. For instance, you may want to serve rich doctors, but if your ads are being displayed to nursing students, your offer will fall on deaf ears, no matter how good it is. The main point you want to make sure you can target your audience easily. Clarifying point: there is no issue with wanting to serve the rich doctors. They are easy to find. This is just an illustration that your promotions must be served to the right audience. 4, growth. Growing markets are like a tailwind. They make everything move forward fast. Declining matters are like headwinds. They make all the efforts harder. This was Lloyd's example of Newspaper had 3 of the 4 makings of a great market. Lots of pain points, purchasing power, and easy to target, but they were shrinking fast. No matter how hard you tried, the entire marketplace was fighting against him. Business is hard enough, and markets move quickly. So you might as well find a good market to give you a tailwind to make the process easier. There's a picture of health, wealth, relationship. There are 3 main markets. I think we hit the time. Yeah, we hit the time. Perfect. That's been day 6 of reading every single day. We just hit page 36. I think we're at a going faster rate. We'll reread Growing tomorrow, Growing section. Thank you guys for tuning in.